Hi and welcome to Beatle Dave's Beatles channel. Today's video I'm going to be showing a real fab selection of original cinema posters, so please come and join me. So hello and welcome again to Beatle Dave's Beatles channel. Really hope I find all you fabulous Beatles people doing really well out there, and also a big hello to any new subscribers, and thank you all for being here today on the channel. So after some delays in channel proceedings, I'm now back with today's video, and I'm going to be showing a fabulous selection of original UK and USA cinema posters relating individually to John, Paul, George and Ringo, with some pretty rare ones which I think actually hopefully that you're going to like. And also I think there's going to be a couple in there which possibly you haven't seen before. And you know, actually I've been collecting these related cinema posters over the years as a sort of sideline, as in most cases I wasn't always looking for them like I have been in more recent years, but they just sort of kept appearing when I was looking for other items. So really I just started to pick them up as and when I saw them. And then, you know, the more actually I started to look, the more I found. And believe me, some of these posters are really not that easy to find, especially ones from the 60s and 70s, as they were probably only, you know, maybe produced maybe as a few hundred of each poster. And obviously a lot of these through the years have been damaged or disposed of or ripped or whatever. So obviously, you know, some of these posters, they can really command some high prices. So also alongside the cinema posters, I started to find the lobby cards, or front of house steals as they're also known. And these cards actually are really hard and really rare to find themselves, and they can also fetch really high prices for the complete sets. And these generally within the UK are 8 steals to the actual set themselves. Now, the first poster actually I found was actually for the film Wonderwall. Now, obviously there's a George Harrison connection there, a big George Harrison connection. And actually I found that in the 1990s from someone advertising in the Record Collector magazine. And I actually remember how much it cost me, which was £40 back then. And as regards to the steals, I only managed to track them down for the Wonderwall film in the last 5 years. And that really proves the point of how few and far between, you know, these items can actually turn up. But of course it's always a great challenge and really all part of the fun to look for and track down these posters and steals. And of course if you bag them for a bargain price, then of course it's even more of a great addition to your collection. Okay then, so right before we get to these cinema posters, it's of course time for I Call Your Name. So yes, it's on to those old shout-outs, and it's a great big Beatle Dave hello to Martin Robinson. How you doing, Martin? 750 Drums, George Price, Nanky Poo, Alexandra K, Peter Zurib. How you doing, Peter? Bob JPGR, Andrew Cutts, Lyall B, Rodrigo Tomeo, Seltab Iat, which is the Beatles back to front, Pharrell McNulty, Allbutt, Longhaired Luigi, and Armando Barbos. So that's a massive hi to all of you fabulous Beatles people from yours truly, Beatle Dave. So okay then, now it's time to have a look at a great selection of original individual Beatles cinema posters. So let's take a look. So I'm going to be starting with the very first related cinema release from any member of the Fab Four, and as you can see it's the UK quad poster for the film The Family Way, which was first premiered in the UK on the 18th of December 1966 and also in New York City on the 28th of June 1967. So I've got 2 posters to show today then, and this is obviously the UK original quad poster, which is in absolutely fabulous condition, and it really doesn't turn up that often actually, this particular one. And obviously Mr. Paul McCartney wrote the incidental music for the film, aided by of course George Martin, with a soundtrack LP which was also released to tie in with the film's release. So here's the USA one sheet poster then, which is pretty nice condition as well. Probably though not as rare as the UK quad, but still nice to have. And the actual film starred Hayley Mills, Hugh Bennett and John Mills, and the film actually was a critical and financial success in the UK and was one of the 12 most popular films at the British box office in 1967. So on to the next film then, which is the Richard Lester British black comedy film of How I Won the War, starring John Lennon, Michael Crawford, Jack McGowran and Roy Kinnear amongst others. Now the film was released and premiered in the UK on the 18th of October 1967 and the following month in the USA on the 8th of November. And once again, actually, this quad poster, the British UK quad poster, is in absolutely beautiful condition. Absolutely incredible to find it in this particular condition, and it's extremely rare anyway. Now, although the film's release was actually delayed, it was sadly didn't do too well at the cinema when released, making these posters very desirable and rare indeed. So we've now got the USA one sheet poster then for How I Won the War, and this poster's in absolutely fantastic condition as well. Probably not as rare as the UK quad, but it's still nice to have. And also there was a single tie-in single relating to the film under the name of Musketeer Gripweed, and that single is also pretty rare to find these days. So on to one from George Harrison, which is probably my favourite Beatle-related film, needs no introduction, it's of course Wonderwall, and it had its world premiere at the Cannes Film Festival on the 17th of May 1968, and its London premiere on the 20th of January 1969. Also in the UK it didn't actually gain a proper distribution deal, and it was quite a low-key film. But as regards to the USA, it did eventually appear as part of the midnight movie circuit in the 1970s. So as regards to the actual film itself, it was quite a basic plot and it starred Jane Birkin and Jack McGowran, and it was actually a very psychedelic adventure along with the fabulous and very thematic instrumental music supplied by George. And obviously though the music was released in its own right on Apple Records as the soundtrack to the film, although some of the music within the film was actually unique to the film soundtrack. Absolutely love this film, it's so psychedelic and it just is of the time, but it certainly stands out as one of my favourite Beatles solo projects. Okay, so now we're on to the very first film starring Mr. Ringo Starr, and it's a film called Candy, and this actually is the UK quad for that particular film. And the UK premiere was on the 20th of February 1969, and the New York premiere actually was 3 months earlier on the 17th of December 1968. So Ringo only plays a very small role in the film as Emmanuel the gardener, but the film does have a host of stars, including Ewa All-In as Candy, Richard Burton, James Coburn and Marlon Brando amongst many others. So released as a soundtrack then on both sides of the Atlantic, it was quite a psychedelic film, which did become a cult classic and the 12th most popular film of 1969 in the UK. So also here then is a very big and very rare French cinema poster for the film Candy. It's in lovely condition, but it's about 5.5 feet long by about 4 feet. So it's incredibly big, this poster, but it's incredibly rare. So another one then from Ringo Starr, hot on the heels of Candy, and it's of course The Magic Christian. And this is the USA one sheet poster in absolutely fantastic condition. And the film actually was premiered in London on the 12th of December 1969, with the New York premiere on the 11th of February 1970. Well, along with Ringo then, the film starred Peter Sellers, Racco Welsh, Christopher Lee and Spike Milligan amongst others, but the film actually did receive quite a lot of negative comments and reviews at the time, but it's not too bad a watch, it's certainly worth a watch at least once. And actually there was also a soundtrack with dialogue from the film released by Pirate Records in the UK, as well as a separately released album by Badfinger called Magic Christian Music on Apple Records, which also featured the main song from the film Come and Get It, written by a certain Paul McCartney. Well, I've previously shown some Blindman posters before on the channel, but here's this particular original poster, and it's also quite a new addition to my Blindman collection of posters, and this one is actually from India. It's in fantastic condition. It's got English text throughout on the whole poster, and it's absolutely huge as well. There again, it's about 5.5 feet by about 4 feet. Absolutely a monster poster. And the film Blind Man itself actually had a worldwide premiere on the 15th of November 1971, and also in the USA on the 12th of January 1972. And it also eventually got a low-key UK release in November of 1973. And Alan Klein actually plays a cameo role in the movie, as does Mal Evans, but Tony Anthony and Ringo, of course, are the main actors in the film. And Ringo actually did write a song called Blind Man, but sadly this wasn't included in the movie or the soundtrack, but an album was actually released in 2023 as part of Record Store Day on blood splattered vinyl. Absolutely incredible record. So another Blind Man poster then, which I've added to my collection again recently, and this particular one is from Yugoslavia. It's not a particularly big poster, this particular one, but I think it's relatively rare. You don't see that many of them, but it's certainly very, very different, and I've started looking further afield now for particular posters, and this one is certainly a great addition to my Blind Man ever-growing collection. Time for one then by George and Ringo and an absolute host of musicians all playing for free on the 1st of August 1971 at Madison Square Garden for the Concert for Bangladesh, which was actually premiered in the USA in New York on March the 23rd, 1972, and a few months later in the UK on July the 1st. Well, firstly, this is the USA one-sheet poster which you can see, and well, what can you say about this concert? Well, just a fabulous event put together by George and all done in aid of Pakistan because he was asked by his dear friend Ravi Shankar. And a little bit of trivia for you, John Lennon was asked to play but wouldn't because the invitation was just for John and not Yoko. And Paul was also asked to play but he declined, stating that we've only just broken up. Nevertheless, though, there was enough names to carry the concert, including Ringo Starr, Leon Russell, Billy Preston, Eric Clapton and Badfinger, to name but a few. An absolutely fantastic lineup. So now it's time for the UK quad poster here, and it's in pretty good condition, this one. It has got a couple of pinholes in either corner, but it's still in absolutely fantastic condition and incredibly rare, this UK one. And actually, you know, this whole project actually was a very successful venture, and along with the accompanying soundtrack released by Apple Records, it still looks and sounds just as great over 52 years later. Absolutely incredible event. And you're never going to see the likes of this sort of concert ever again. I mean, we've had Live Aid and things, but this was certainly a one-off. So on to another poster than George related poster, and this one is incredibly rare, and as you can see, this one is from the Ravi Shankar film Raga, which was premiered in New York on the 23rd of November 1971. And George actually did show the film in the UK to a select audience in London in August 1972, and according to the magazine Record Mirror, Raga was going to open in London in late November 1973. Well, this poster actually is a delight to own, and it's in fabulous condition, but you know, I've never ever seen another one, so this must be incredibly rare. Now, obviously the movie included George playing sitar along with Ravi, and it was actually George that got Apple Films involved to actually get this movie made. And you know, I do quite enjoy the movie and the original Apple album, which was released only within the USA, until actually a download was available if you bought the remastered DVD release in 2011, which also had some bonus tracks. Well, George and Ringo were definitely the most prolific film-wise in the 1970s, and this particular UK film poster was probably Ringo's best known role in the film for That'll Be the Day. And it premiered actually worldwide on the 12th of April 1973, with the USA premiere a few months later on the 29th of October. Well, this film actually basically made David Essex a very big star, with the film also starring big names, of course, like Ringo, Keith Moon, Rosemary Leach and Billy Fury. And there was also a very successful soundtrack album released by Ronco, who incidentally put up £100,000 of the money to finance the film if the 40 tracks from the album could be included. So here's another UK cinema poster for the film That'll Be the Day, and this one's actually a lot smaller, probably what they call an insert poster or something like that. But you know, it's a great film and certainly worth a watch. Just too bad that Ringo wasn't in it for a little bit longer than he was, but still worth a watch. Brilliant film. Well, I've shown this poster actually before, but it's pretty rare, and of course it's for the film Son of Dracula, which stars Harry Nilsson and Ringo Starr. And the world premiere was actually in mid-May 1974, although it was actually filmed around 2 years earlier, which is pretty bizarre. And obviously the film didn't do that well at all in the cinemas, but it did have an accompanying soundtrack featuring snippets of dialogue and songs. And this particular record was released on Rapple Records, which was RCA and Apple Records combined. So as regards to the film itself, you can actually check it out on YouTube. Well, it's not actually too entertaining, but you know, just give it a watch, even if it's for just Ringo Starr's performance. But check it out, it's, you know, it's worth a watch at least once. So the final poster I'm going to show today then is this original, and it's pretty rare, this UK quad for the film Lisztomania, which is a Ken Russell movie starring Roger Daltrey, Ringo Starr, Paul Nicholas and Rick Wakeman. And the film itself premiered in the USA on the 10th of October 1975 and in the UK the following month on the 13th of November, and there was also a soundtrack on A&M Records. So now then, we've got the USA one sheet poster, which is in absolutely tremendous condition, just as good as the UK quad I've got. And I think this one is actually just on more of the erotic side as opposed to the UK quad, which is a little bit different. And you know, I love actually collecting all these cinema film posters and everything, which I've been collecting for many years, as well as the lobby cards and things. It's a great sideline to do alongside the records and things, and they're sure to go up in value, as many of them really do. But it's certainly nice to have all this collection. I'm going to be showing more just as soon as I can. So that's pretty much it for today, guys, and I really hope you've enjoyed seeing all those original cinema posters I've shown today, and I'm going to be following it up with another one because I've got so many posters to show. And also, please don't forget any comments or communication I get from any of you Beatles people about today's video or any other videos I've made. I will always come back to you just as soon as I can. So on the next video then, I'm going to be doing something a little bit different, which has been suggested by John Roker. How you doing, John? Hope you're well. And John has suggested actually I do a top 10 of my most valuable items in my collection. So actually what I thought I'd do first is show my top 10 most valuable albums, then on to another episode where I'm going to show my 45s and then EPs, etc. So please make sure that you're here for that one on the next video. Same Beatles time, same Beatles channel. So anyway, as always, if you enjoy what I'm doing, please don't forget to like, subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you don't miss out on any future videos. This is Beatle Dave signing off.